Ludwig van Beethoven, A Rebellious Legacy. What does it mean to be rebellious in music? Today, rebellion can mean going against the norm, standing up for something, or changing the way people think. Beethoven's rebellion wasn't loud in the way we often imagine. It wasn't about breaking things down, but about building something completely new. He lived during one of Europe's most turbulent times. Born in 1770, in Bonn, Beethoven grew up surrounded by Enlightenment ideas. Ideas about liberty, equality, reason, and the power of the individual. Just a few years later, the French Revolution would shake the foundations of European monarchies, and these themes would find their way into Beethoven's music. What made him stand out wasn't just that he was talented. There were many skilled composers. It was that Beethoven took those talents and used them to challenge the expectations of what music could be. He added personal emotion, bold drama, and philosophical depth to his work. He wrote not just to entertain, but to say something meaningful. As we talk through Beethoven's life, his struggles, his groundbreaking compositions, and the legacy he left behind, we'll see why he continues to matter, not just to musicians, but to anyone who believes in the power of resilience, individuality, and artistic freedom.
Beethoven's life began in Bonn, Germany, in December 1770. He was born into a family of musicians. His grandfather had been a respected Kapellmeister, and his father, a singer at court, pushed Beethoven toward music from a very age. Sometimes this push came with hard discipline. Beethoven's early life was far from easy, but it helped shape the intensity that defined his music. At age 17, he traveled to Vienna, the musical capital of Europe, where he hoped to study with Mozart. That opportunity was cut short when he had to return home for a family emergency. Still, a few years later, he made it back to Vienna and began studying under the great Joseph Haydn. Beethoven's style didn't fit neatly into what was expected. Even his earliest sonatas were unusually passionate and dramatic. His strong personality sometimes clashed with his teachers, but his independence was also what set him apart. He quickly built a reputation in Vienna, not just as a virtuoso pianist, but as an innovative composer. He performed in aristocratic salons and gained support from noble patrons. But unlike many composers before him, he demanded respect as an artist. He wasn't there to serve others, he wanted the creative control. This was a new idea at the time, and it's one of the things that makes Beethoven such a pivotal figure. He helped redefine the role of composers, not as servant but as a visionary.
Beethoven's life was not just filled with creative triumphs, it was also marked by deep personal struggle, especially when it came to his hearing. Around the age of 26, he began to notice signs of hearing loss. At first, he hid it. For a composer and a pianist, going deaf was terrifying, not just professionally but emotionally. He felt isolated and ashamed. As the condition worsened, so did his inner turmoil. In 1802, while staying in the town of Heiligenstadt, he wrote a letter to his brothers expressing how difficult it had become to live with his condition. This letter, now known as the Heiligenstadt Testament, was never sent. In it, Beethoven talks about his despair, his fear of being misunderstood, and his decision to continue living for his art. What followed was one of the most productive periods of his life. Instead of giving up, Beethoven pushed deeper into his imagination. His music began to reflect raw emotion, inner conflict, and philosophical ideas about life, faith, and humanity. Even when he became completely deaf, he continued to compose. He stopped performing in public but developed techniques to still hear music in his stead. He used vibrations through the piano and relied on his memory and intuition to write full symphonies. His story is more than a medical case. It's a lesson in creative strength. Beethoven lost the very sense most would think essential to a composer, and yet he gave the world some of its most powerful music after that loss.
Now let's explore three Beethoven's most important and influential works, each one a milestone that helped transform music history. First is Symphony No. 3, also known as the Eroica. At that time, the most symphonies were shorter and lighter in tone. Beethoven broke those expectations by writing a piece that was nearly twice as long, emotionally complex, and filled with bold musical ideas. Originally, he dedicated it to Napoleon Bonaparte, who he saw as a symbol of freedom, but when Napoleon crowned himself emperor, Beethoven scratched out the dedication. He had no interest in honoring a tyrant. The music remained heroic, built around struggle, loss, and perseverance. Next, Symphony No. 5. The opening four notes, da-da-da-dum, are probably the most famous in classical music. They form a short motif that is repeated and transformed through the piece. That small idea becomes an epic musical journey, often described as a battle between fate and triumph. And finally, Symphony No. 9. This piece was revolutionary, because Beethoven did something no one had done before. He added a full choir and vocal soloist to a symphony. In the final movement, the choir sings Friedrich Schiller's poem Ode to the Joy, a message of unity and brotherhood. It is powerful not only because of its beauty, but because Beethoven wrote it while completely deaf. This work didn't just change what symphonies sound like, they changed what music could communicate. They helped turn the composer into a storyteller, philosopher, and visionary.
Beethoven's legacy extends far beyond his lifetime. After his death in 1827, his reputation only grew. He became the model of the Romantic generation, a symbol of the artist as a heroic figure. Composers like Brahms, Wagner, Schumann, and Tchaikovsky were directly influenced by him. Even in modern times, his music is everywhere, performed in symphony halls, featured in movies, quoted in political events, and played at major international celebrations. One of the most famous uses of his music was during the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, when Ode to Joy was played as a symbol of peace and hope. It's also the anthem of the European Union. His work continues to be performed in classrooms, concert halls, and on world stages. Beethoven is also deeply embedded by pop culture, from animated films to dramatic historical biopics like Immortal Beloved. His music is streamed millions of times a year and adapted into soundtracks that continue to inspire audiences around the world. But his legacy isn't just about sound, it's about spirit. Beethoven showed that art can come from pain, that creativity doesn't disappear when life becomes hard, and that one person's voice, no matter the obstacles, can echo through centuries. He taught us that music isn't just notes, it's expression, it's resistance, it's human.
As we've seen, Beethoven's life wasn't easy. He faced obstacles that would have stopped many. Yet he kept writing, pushing, evolving. His music changed how people felt about sound, structure, and emotion. What made Beethoven a rebel wasn't that he ignored tradition. It's that he reshaped it to express something real. He taught us that music can carry ideas, feelings, and even protest. It can ask questions and give hope. One of his most famous quotes was, "I will seize fate by the throat. It shall certainly not bend and crush me." That's not just a composer talking, it's a survivor, an artist, a fighter. And that's what we take from Beethoven today. Not just beauty, but bravery. Not just melody, but meaning. He proved that art matters, and that even in silence, your voice can still be heard. Thank you for watching.